Hello and welcome back to the garden of the Fracking Farmhouse, where today I thought I'd get back to basics, because for weeks we've been going on about government reports and planning decisions and all this sort of stuff, and people are only just finding us thinking, well, what is it? What's different about fracking? What, you know, we need oil, don't we? We need gas, we need energy. You know, what's fracking so different about? So, first of all, let's use this lovely picture here. What are they after? What are they after? Shale gas. That's gas that's locked in the shale. The shale's under everything. That was oceans laid down millennia ago. And what's happened with the shale over time is its conventional gas, oil and gas, has leaked out from the shale, where it's held really tightly, into these spongy-like rocks, conventional limestones and things like that, where it can fill up the pores there, and then when you drill down and you puncture it, all the gas comes out. Gas and oil comes out of pressures. They used to call them gushers in America. They'd come out. Or think of Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf of Mexico. When they hit that one, they couldn't stop it. The blow-up vent didn't work. Oh, gush, 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 under its own steam. Now, the problem is America has pretty much run out of this easily accessible stuff. And the easily accessible conventional oil and gas that's left is under countries that they don't own, like Russia, China, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, North Africa. These are countries that America doesn't own. So they got into a bit of a problem. So somebody very, very clever worked out a number of things. One is to change the drill to drill horizontally through the shale. That was a clever thing. 2, slick water, which is putting chemicals in the water to reduce the viscosity of the water. 3, apply very high pressure to that water, pressures that hadn't applied to that water before. And then adding proppants, which is small bits of sand to the water that they drill down. So, fracking, new thing, started in the 90s in America, and they've drilled down through all the conventional gas that's been spent and they've all used up, and into the unconventional shale underneath, and then a long way. And then what they do, they take the rig away. You've got this long hole that goes down a couple of miles, then you put water on, you put some chemicals in the water and some sand in the water, and you put some really high pressure on it. And when you take the pressure away, the water comes, about a third, half of the water comes flooding back up, and that water's really toxic. It was toxic when it went down. Now it's triply toxic because it's got all the norms, the radioactive things and chemicals from deep under the ground, and they all come whooshing out, and you hope it doesn't leak. And then the gas comes whooshing out, and you hope that doesn't leak as well. And you capture that gas, and you can clean the gas up, and that can give you methane, which is what the natural gas that most people heat their homes with, and we use for electricity generation and things like that. So it's a new thing. Why don't we want it? Why are we anti-fracking? 1, because we're anti-fossil fuels. I know that sounds a bad thing, because we still use it. I still drive a petrol car, and most people still use gas to heat their homes. But we have to evolve to somewhere better. So the time to wean yourself off is not the time to go and get more of it. It's like if you've got an alcohol problem, homebrew is not the answer. You know, just having lots more of it readily available doesn't actually help your alcohol problem. So there's that. The second one is you need to drill loads and loads and loads and loads of wells, because the gas doesn't flow. A conventional well, you burst the bubble, like the North Sea. You know, the North Sea has been drained. The Brent oil field had 6 wells for like 40 years. Just you drill there, you hit the bubble, and you just sit there and you take it out. You take it out. Sometimes they might stimulate the well, which is putting a bit of something like water back down to agitate it and get more out. And they're doing that in the North Sea now. The North Sea is lasting a lot longer than we originally thought. But that's totally different from breaking up the shale rock underneath. So you can only drill horizontally a mile. So the next well has to be 2 miles away to come back, and you need loads and loads and loads of well pads and loads of wells, and each well is triple lined with steel and concrete. Loads of energy goes into that. So it's incredibly energy intensive. It's incredibly polluting when it goes wrong, and even when it goes right. When it goes wrong, water tables get polluted, and this is what's happened in America and Pennsylvania. Lots of water tables, groundwater. If you go to Pittsburgh, the Steel City, is it Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah, in the Steel City. People there now have filters on their shower heads because the public water supply has been contaminated. Out in the countryside it's much worse because people with their own artesian wells for their own drinking water, they've been poisoned, and they now drink bottled water. People who went to live in the country and had their own clear water drink bottled water. And then the gases that escape, because if you drill like an oil rig, and think of it in the North Sea, it's sat there for 30 years, you get all the pipe work, it gets all tightened up, you check it regularly, everything's the same. When you have to frack a new well every year, and they're drilling 1,000 wells a year in Pennsylvania, because you have to keep, because you drill a well, you get 75% out in year one, so then you need to drill another one, and then you need to drill another one. Each one has loads of traffic associated with it. There's enough pollution and road accidents with the traffic, let alone if they're carrying the toxic water away. So there's all that. But then the gases that leak out, because this isn't permanent pipe work, this is occasional pipe work, and it leaks, and methane leakage and all sorts of things. Now, and that leads to public health concerns, not just concerns, real effects. So that's why we don't want fracking. In a nutshell, it's hitting a new reservoir of fossil fuels that we don't need, right? Renewable energy, it's wonderful, sun, tides, wind. We've done the sums, we can do it. Battery storage is coming on, so we don't need it. We need not to get it, but when by getting it, you create pollution, you use up the Earth's resources, putting all this steel and concrete underground that you will never ever get out again, is just using up resources to get out something we don't want. And the final thing, because around here it's INEOS that want to drill, is it don't just come out methane from shale, you also get ethane. And ethane is the building block for plastic. So INEOS are quite open now, not when they first came up with the thing, it was about energy security, but now that's been distance. They say it's a raw material for production. And what you've found with the shale gas industry in America is there's so much ethane knocking about, it's so cheap, they're actually building new cracking plants. They turn ethane into ethylene, which goes into polyethylene, which makes plastic. And they're building more plastics factory now than in the last, they've just started than in the last 30 years because, demand had sort of stabilised. So there is the demand there, which is fueled by this cheap fuel. So we're exacerbating climate change, we're making plastic, and we are messing up our immediate environment in order to do it. That's why we say no to fracking. It's a no-brainer. We don't need it, we don't want it, and the tide is turning against it. We've got to stop it now. So tell everyone you know, tell your politicians. If you want more detail, there's other fracking farmhouses, but I just thought I'd better go back to basics for once. So if you like it, you know what to do. Click like, subscribe and all that. And I'm sure the cats will be back sometime. Thanks very much. Bye.